Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much also for joining, particularly on a short notice. Welcome also to a session around the Lee Schipper Scholarship. And my name is Holger Dalkmann. I am one of the co-founders of the initiative, and welcome you together with some former scholars and ongoing scholars, which I will introduce also in a minute. In fact, also I should give credit also to Tom and Joanna Moody, who both had in fact also the wonderful idea to host also this webinar. So today, as former scholars, we had a discussion how to also raise further the profile, but also helping also participants also with also their application. So thanks also to everyone also for your interest, and hopefully also this session, which is a little bit ad hoc, as also we moving towards also the deadline of 15th of April, which you hopefully also have noted. So hopefully also this session is useful. So what we're going to do is I will give a very brief update on our introduction also to the scholarship, and then hand over also to the scholars for their experience, sharing a little bit in terms of also how the scholarship have helped. But particularly, this session is really about you and your questions. So I will avoid getting into every detail of the process, but more want to be responsive together with the former scholars to help in any way. So with that, I will also share briefly my screen. And hopefully also that this will work out, and then we can get started. Okay. So a little bit of background. Can you see that as full screen now?
We're seeing the notes view.
All right. Okay. Is that better? Joanna?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the guy on the photo is Lee Schipper. Lee was a really good friend of mine and of many. He was a true inspiration also for all of us. He worked was around the globe on the transport and energy efficiency in influential organizations like the International Energy Agency, also the Shell Foundation, but also was the co-founder together with Nancy Keed of the Sustainable Mobility Program called former called Embark of the World Resources Institute. But also he was a great musician and many things more. And unfortunately, also he passed away in 2011, far too early, in the age of just over 60. And when I was with his family, just briefly after he passed, proposed also like the scholarship and say, well, we should really also keep also his legacy, because his legacy was about also challenging conventional wisdom with also data and with knowledge. And so his wife and his daughters were moved also by the suggestion, and together with my dear friend Ramon Munoz-Raskin, his son-in-law, who also works also for the World Bank, we came up with also the proposal and suggestion also to have a scholarship. We wanted to keep it easy, so we also wanted to make sure so that it will reflect also his passion for data, his passion also for impact, but also to make it also open also for as many young people as possible. And I will get also to like the details. We had the luck also to have the Shell Foundation during that time also providing an initial grant also to allow the scholarship also to run. But then also since 2018, thankfully also the Volvo Research Educational Foundation is providing also support also to the scholarship. And we're working closely also with the World Resources Institute as well as the World Bank, who every year hosting the large-scale influential conference called Transforming Transportation, where the scholar every year also has the opportunity also to present some of the work also to an audience of about 500 to 600 people in the room, as well as about up to 3,000 people also joining online. And so this is a little bit of the background. As you probably also have heard that and seen also that there is expression of interest also due by the 15th of April, and like to share just also some information on the key documents. Should also acknowledge if you have any further questions, do not hesitate also to contact myself or Ramon or Eileen Kerrigan, who's also helping us also with running also the scholarship, as well as I should acknowledge also the workers of also the board members of Nancy Key, Dario Hidalgo, Wishwen, and Sam Zimmerman, as well as Joanna Moody is joining us also today. So with the expression of interest, you immediately also have the website also offers the scholarship, where you find all the different pieces of information. It describes also who is eligible. So we said also if you're born after April 15th of 89, then also you're eligible, and obviously also have some work in mind around sustainable transport and energy efficiency, about have also an innovative and transformational outcome, which is crucial, and you'll find also more details around that. Then also, since 3 years also, we're very pleased, thanks also to the supporters from WEREF, that there is a dedicated African scholarship. And for that also you have to hold the citizenship of an African country, currently live and work in Africa, and have also an association based also in Africa with an institution. So you will then see here is the link of the expression of interest, and this is pretty simple. So this is the second page. The first page is just also your contact details, and on the second page you will then ask also of your proposal title. We also have no real template for the proposal description, but also have around a maximum of 3,500 words, as well as your CV. Ideally, also we'd like to see also supporting letters from also the university or research institution also you work for, and also have also your list of publications. So that's pretty simple. There is, and you will find that there's on the scholarship website also the application guidance, which then also leads you also to a slightly larger document where you find all the different detailed information about the award information, the eligibility, the application. So we have a two-step process. The first is also you fill in also the expression of interest, and then 7 of you for the global scholarship or the African scholarship will be selected, and then also you have to submit a slightly more extensive proposal, which then also will be assessed, and 2 global and 1 African scholar will be selected if eligible. So sorry, I'm also trying to accept also the people still joining. I think that's accepted. Okay, so with that, I actually want to already stop the main introduction, because I hope also you have seen also the documents. But I also would like to hand over to some of the scholars to share also their experience, and telling you also why you should be interested also in joining the club, as well as happy then to answer any questions. So probably also going to Joanna and then Tom, both came up with the idea, and then we have also, I saw Owen and Robert joining as well. Joanna.
Well, thanks, Holger. I'll be very brief because at this point, I think I'm a little bit of an old hat in the room. I received the scholarship, I think, in 2017. And I've been very privileged to then work with the scholarship committee over the past couple of years in communication and mentorship of the scholars. And I just want to highlight that I think this is one of the key aspects of the scholarship, that connections from the board of the scholarship are paired with each of the scholars and really provide another opportunity for guidance on the research. So I think this is a really beneficial thing. I know I benefited from it a lot when I went through the process. And now being a mentor, it continues to be a very rewarding experience. So I don't want to take further time from those who are maybe have gone through the process in a little bit more recent capacity. So Tom, over to you, and then we'll hear from both Owen and Robert, hopefully. Thanks.
Thanks, Joanna, and apologies in advance if I start cutting out. Poor internet connection here. So hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I'm the recipient of one of the recipients of the Lee Schipper Memorial Scholarship from last year. So just to give you a little bit of background so that you can kind of understand, all the different ways you can get into this and the different folks. Of course, you do need to be either a PhD student or applying or having finished that or connected to an institution, academic institution. Personally, I'm doing a long distance part-time PhD at the University of Cape Town while I'm based in Nairobi. I have been working on motorcycle taxis for a long time, and that's what I chose to focus my efforts with the Lee Schipper Memorial Scholarship on. It was a very unique opportunity. It's been a really great way to be able to conduct research that would have been quite difficult to do otherwise. I had Joanna as my mentor, who was quite helpful and particularly stepped in at a difficult moment for me, which was much appreciated. I would also say that, of course, going to transforming transportation is a very unique opportunity. We all, know that conferences can sometimes have the same flavor, or have a certain flavor, and the ability to show up with your own unique research and present that there, I think is a really, really important one. So if you want to talk about tuk-tuks in Bangladesh, or you want to talk about financing schemes for sidewalks somewhere, this is the kind of thing that doesn't always get to be on the main stage, and it's a great opportunity for that. And I'm still in the process of doing it while I'm also freelance consulting. So there's different ways that you can go about this. That's all I would say. And that I think it's a really great opportunity. In terms of any other advice I would give, from my own experience, I would say look for, focus on what you have that's unique and that you really know well, or that you know the set of questions that you want to ask well. That's all I would say. I'd love to hand it over to Owen. Owen, if you're able to join us and talk a little bit about what you did with Lee Schipper and what you've been doing since.
Thank you so much, Tom. In a similar boat as Tom, from the same university, I was a recipient before him back in 2023, and yes, I think it's important to just have the right question, have the right topic, and something that you really understand. And maybe I'll talk to the timing of the scholarship itself. And I think it came in my third year of my PhD, and at that point I'd already formed quite clear questions of what I needed to answer for my PhD, and then packaged that and drew it the scholarship for evaluation. So it was quite crisp in that perspective, and I think it was a good addition in terms of getting reviews, interacting with the committee, getting to understand other perspectives, and specifically to the question that I was asking about optimization of paratransit routes, which was quite interesting. It was already challenging the norm. How do you optimize this? How do you actually talk to rationalization of this, not necessarily formalization? So those are the kind of questions that I was throwing to the committee, and them giving me feedback, and being able to, achieve the milestones that I'd given in there. I think one thing that is quite interesting was I was able to get quite crisp answers, and out of that work and engagement with Sam Zimmerman, who was my mentor at that point. And I think I got into a good channel, and I'm in the process of getting that out. And I hope in the next few months I get through the reviews, and the paper from this work will be quite a good one in terms of optimizing paratransit routes and how it would look like from an African perspective. Yes, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Back to you, Tom.
Thanks, Owen. Robert, I know you're in the field. Are you able to join us?
Yeah, Tom. I can share a bit of my experience as well. So yes, I'm one of the Lee Schipper Memorial Scholarship alumni, if I can put it that way. And I was the 2022, one of the 2022 recipients of the scholarship. I think under my scholarship, the scholarship really helped to facilitate some of my research, which was around enhancing mobility and reducing environmental impacts in small and medium-sized towns. But in terms of the scholarship, it has not only provided me financial support, but also in terms of helping me access a global network of experts and resources, especially through my mentors. Talking to Ramon was quite crucial to my work, and in terms of guiding and actually giving me some good criticism to my work, which I think is necessary if you have to do quality work out there, as well as Holger, who pitched in sometime later and helped to guide me as well in terms of some of the work I was doing at the time. In terms of where I am right now, the scholarship, I would have to say, has really helped form a good foundation for me, in the sense that in 2023, I spoke about the work I was doing under the scholarship at one of the engagements with the government, which has culminated into some consulting opportunities that I've taken up with the Namibian National Road Safety Council. So that's work that's continuing until I think 2027. So it just goes to show that the work that's being done under the scholarship, as well as the guidance, the expertise, can help to sort of lead into other opportunities that can also help to impact not only globally, but also within your context. So maybe just a few words of encouragement that this is a really good opportunity for early career scholars, and it's something that you have to definitely take up. Think about some of the research questions that you would want to pursue, ask questions, but also reach out. I think as some of the older scholars, we're always willing to assist. If you have any questions on how to apply what would seem like not only a good topic, but what would seem contextual and impactful within your context, we would always be willing to pitch in and see how to put together a good application. I think I'll leave it at that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Owen, Roberts, Tom, Joanna. So really nice to hear your your experience, and this is actually was exactly the reason also why Ramon and I had also the vision also to do that, and it's nice also to hear now so all the positive impacts over the years, and just also to highlight those two things one had been said. So this doesn't have to be like a complete separate research piece. It can be, as owners are highlighted, it can really also help also to progress as part of your PhD, but also, and there was one question earlier in terms of the level of education. So you can also apply even also if it's part also of your master's thesis. So this doesn't require like a PhD process. Often also we have PhD, but also it's also open even also to postdoctoral thesis where you also feel still also in the process saying, well, I have my PhD, but I also want to do also this paper for a conference, or I want to, and that's also the beauty of that scholarship that we said is the final users of that can be also quite flexible. So just as to clarify that, but thanks also for introducing yourselves online. That's fantastic, so that we get a little bit of a feeling also who's joining today. But I saw also that Minke had already also had a question. So, but feel free also to raise your hand. But handing over to the first question by Minke. Sorry for an apologies also for probably also mispronouncing your name.
That's all right. Good morning. My name is Minke Nai. I'm based in South Africa at the moment. I recently came back from Washington, D.C., where I attended Transforming Transportation and Tom presented. I'm currently registered as a final year PhD student in transport economics at Stellenbosch University, but I'm also contracted with the World Bank as a STC until 30th of June. Since I'm affiliated with the World Bank, am I eligible to apply for the scholarship?
Simple answer is yes. So as long as there is an affiliation which somehow still is a supporter, so your research that can be also on a consulting basis, it can be also like at the university. Important is that there is an affiliation which somehow also indicates that you will also get also some support in terms of guidance also for the work, or ideally like any kind of other supporters you receive also from also the institution.
Mm-hmm. Great. And then my second and last question is about project topic selection. I'd like to take the conversation offline, perhaps further, to discuss with Tom or others. There are a couple of research ideas that I have. There's actually a long bullet point list. One of them being sustainable aviation fuel, SAF. And I see that Joanna, that's here. I was hoping that she would maybe be open to mentoring me. We think we quickly met in an AFCA meeting at the World Bank about a month or so ago. So my question would be, is it open to aviation topics, or are you guys more keen for paratransit, informal public transport topics?
The scholarship is openers for all types of transport. There had been also more focus on land transport in the past, but we also had, for example, 3 years ago, like an African scholar also on the role also of coastal shipping. So it's more about and here trying also to respond to one of the questions in terms of what stands out is more about also the innovation, a clear justification why that topic is also important also for sustainable transport, and how you're also with also the work you're doing, trying also to use also certain data also to then come also to outcomes which help also to also change the needle towards sustainable transport.
Thank you.
And yeah, great to hear that you have several topics. Obviously, so we're not here so immediately to highlight what's absolutely the favorite topics. There are no favorite. It's really about the quality, and yeah, everyone is free also to look also for their support as much as they can. Thank you. It's hard also to also track all the questions. Joanna or Tom, did you see there's any questions which I might have missed?
There's one here on can a bachelor's holder with research experience who's applied to a master's but not been fully accepted to the institution apply?
Yes, again, it's obviously also the more experience you have, also the more outstanding also your CV is. Nevertheless, also we absolutely open. We had also master students winning also the scholarship as well as PhD and post PhD. So important is also that there is an affiliation which also is then indicated by a letter of support. And I see a question from Shreya, thanks also for that. So the focus is in fact also on sustainable transport, not just also purely on energy efficiency. So you can also either have the linkers to sustainable transport and energy efficiency, or just purely on sustainable transport.
Holger, maybe as I think we don't have any other, is there a requirement on number of letters of support?
No, if one would be already also like good, particularly so standing out also in the expression of interest, and also then also when you move forward also with the full proposal, if you want to impress us and say, well, I'm not just also get supporters directly from my university or research institute, but also if I have a close connection also to the city or the country or the two countries I'm working with, and I already have connections to some ministries and can also prove that, it doesn't do any harm.
And since I think we've answered the questions in the chat, but please feel free to keep them coming. I wanted to also speak to the question on sort of what stands out among the applications, just from my perspective as someone who's read them in the past couple of years. I think that there's a couple of things. Is that one of them? I think is Lee was sort of known for thinking outside the box. He used his proficiency both technically, but also with music and other hobbies to really, I think, approach problems in an interesting way. But the other thing I would say is highlighting the potential sort of policy or other how your insights that you would gain from answering this research question might make a difference on the ground. I think that's really critical. We often focus on the research question, the methods, all of that is important. But once you've done this research, what is the impact that you want to have? What is it going to what questions is it going to answer? What is your motivation? What is the problem it's going to help to inform? I think having that context really clear really helps for keeping your proposal both tight, given the word limit, and really impactful to in how it communicates, the problem and how you want to approach it. So that's maybe just my perspective. I don't know if Holger, you had any reactions or additions to that, and then we have a question on does the word count include the bibliography?
So to be honest, I also had to look into the guidance documents, and it's actually recounting every word also in that proposal. So therefore, if you have also want to add key references, focus on key references rather than there's like an extensive list, and also you have still also to submit separately also your own publications. So therefore, you can even also reference that also in then also in the separate document. Tom, you might also like to share any more in terms of also what might stand out in your experience?
Well, sure. Not having reviewed the applications, of course, but I think, and this is just sort of my guess here, Joanna can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think probably what was interesting about my application was that I focused on a topic that doesn't always get a lot of airtime, especially at a high level, even though it's a very widespread phenomena. That's motorcycle taxis. And then the other thing too is that one of the outcomes is presenting to policymakers in Kampala. So actually I'm headed to Kampala on Sunday. So that's one of the things I'll be doing while I'm there. Making sure that my research gets into the hands of policymakers and decision makers was a really kind of major part of my application. It's a sort of a major part of how I do research in general. And part of that too is that I'm also distributing this research to not only policymakers, but actually, in a lot of low-income, highly informal contexts, there's a lot of private sector involvement, right? There's financing for the vehicles, there's the apps, there's the electrification, there's so many other things, helmet manufacturers, what have you. And so part of the application too is that I also get this information in a very readable, applicable format, that is to say, not a scholarly journal, not a scholarly article to these types of decision makers. So I think that was kind of one of the key things too. Also about my application was that I said, I think it's important that we get this to people who can make change, and that it's written in a way that's easily understandable. It's presented directly to them. I'm around for engagement with them. I was also leaning on longstanding relationships. I've been working in Kampala for 7 or 8 years now. So I think all of that was helpful.
Thanks, Tom. I think Joanna also kindly also respond and clarify so my text. Just
summarizing what you said in writing for anyone
who's
monitoring the chat, but no, nothing.
Perfect. Thank you. And just from my perspective, things applicants often overlook. We, as so the work from Lee Schipper was very international and global, and here his passion also for working also with different countries, with different cities, is reflected in the scholarship. So and often also research is just focused on one city or one specific activity in one country. We love to see a little bit of a comparative approach. So it doesn't have to be also your absolute focus, but also it helps also that also to get also like a second city, a second country, also into also your research, and that is why the funding itself can be also used in different ways. So you can get a research assistant, you can get funding also for your survey, you can also use it also for travel and accommodation. So maybe also like Owen, you might like to share a little bit more so how you also spend the money and what was your approach?
Sure. So as part of my activities, I first had to plan for the actual data collection, engagement with the professionals. Remember, I'm in Cape Town, and my work was purely based in Kenya, in Nairobi, and just to bring in that perspective of comparative, I needed to like travel to Kenya and do some of those engagements with some of the professionals and also the university there, University of Nairobi. So you need to factor in that kind of logistics around it. Venues will need to book some of the materials, and also if you get to travel to TT and present, you also to factor in that, basically getting that flight to TT and accommodation in Washington. You would need to put that as part of your budgeting, and be very also reasonable, because it can be expensive there, and also make sure that your activities are also fitting in the budget. So the main thing is that they will give you half the budget, so you need to plan within that, and then you only get the other ones when you met all your deliverable. They have the rest of the funds. So you need to plan with half the budget, and then make sure that the rest of the things that need to be done fit into the other half. Yeah.
Just on the thanks, Owen. Just also on the last one, this is also the regular process because we want to make sure so that the candidates actually not just receive funding but also promises what they deliver. That's why we're holding also back also some of the resources. Nevertheless, in specific circumstances, also we also providers like upfront additional supporters for us, like the travel within also the budget, so to accommodate also certain needs, but that's but in general, so this is also planned 50% upfront and 50% after. Then the weightage of publication in the overall selection process. We have an internal formula. I have to live. I would know that by heart. Just it's one of about 10 different criteria. So therefore, so that's if you not have a long publication list, that's not the ultimate make it or break it. So I don't know, Joanna, if you have more details in mind at this stage.
No. I mean that's the that is that's sort of the answer I would give as well. I think it's only one of many different considerations here, and I think that one of the goals of the scholarship is to provide opportunities for particularly the Africa scholarship for students and in institutions where there maybe isn't as much research funding available. And sometimes that can mean a shorter publication list or fewer opportunities for publications. And so we take that into account, that context when we're reviewing the applications.
And there is a question from Paris. Thanks for joining us. In terms of deadline of the 7th on LinkedIn, I don't know who posted that, but the deadline is on the 15th, so there's still 6 days to go. And whoever has posted the 7th, please also reshare the post with also the official page that it's actually the 15th. It's just, and there was a question by Ankunde in terms of part of publication, I suppose attach the full article. No, it just there's the list with there's the DOI. If there is a DOI, that would be great. Yes. Robert, you were quiet for some time. Any other reflection based on the questions or anything else?
I think Robert may have had to run to the field.
Okay.
We were on borrowed time with him, so
okay. Great. And for those of you who had joined a little bit later, we will also record the webinar, and it will be publicly available, which you will see then also on the WeRef and scholarship website. And then there's another question from Paris. Should publications be only in this area? No, you can actually also add also if you have an interesting different backgrounds where you change careers and already also have experience in other scientific or also gray policy papers or anything you have done in the past, feel free also to add that. Okay, so we going towards the hour. It's greater so that you have so many questions. Feel free also to raise your hand, show your face if you want to. Otherwise, Tom, you have any final? I see Owen, you made also your screen on. Anything else you want to share, Owen?
Sure. The last one, and I think it's the timing between when you actually confirmed for your scholarship and the time that you're supposed to present your work in TT. I think consider that in terms of the scale of what you propose. Might be a good proposal, and you put too much to chew in there, and you don't have some output or some concrete output to present to them. I mean, a room of professionals. So you want to consider that so that in less than 5 months, you have something good and you have some output, even though there's some work to be done after that. You kind of can present some initial insights from your proposal. I think that is quite critical so that you don't present something that is not up to standard. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Owen, also for highlighting that. As a principle, so we support from year to year. So in the guidance documents, so you see that the main guidance should be also that whatever you propose will be finished within a year. So so that's for us is the main criteria. And we usually also working also with the final scholars in terms of their preparation also for the event, so that you get also feedback in advance, some test runs, so that the presentation is always on the highest standards. And our scholars got a lot of really positive feedbacks over the last years. Thanks to good preparation and thanks to excellent work. See more messages. Joanna, you were tracking that? Sorry.
I'm trying to respond in real time here.
Okay, perfect.
So I'll summarize. I think we've talked about the proposal topic selection. I'm happy to summarize that in the chat as well. And then, as you said, this was covered and we've recorded the webinar, but I'm going to do my best to summarize and we can add.
Yeah. So, and there was again, also like for the on the proposal topics, consult. So we already said sustainable transport is a given link to energy efficiency. Is a possibility, but not needed. What is not inside the scope if the work is solely just on energy efficiency, and we said before. That we also cover all modes of transport. We had in the last years quite a lot of work around also urban and land-based transport, but also we had in the past also on topics around freight and shipping. So it's more about really what's also the innovative aspects of that and also your that it's clear so how it also has a potential route also that the work also has an impact, as Tom also nicely also described. When is the latest time for the output? March 26th. So as I said, this is also in the guidance. Please study that carefully. But if you have a really good justification saying, well, I have already planned a certain field trip from December to March, and will be just able to write it up as in April. Indicate that particular then is in the second phase, but this is also like the guidance. There's always can be also some flexibility, but that's ideally also fits also in the time frame. Tom, any final reflection from your end?
My only final comment would be apply. It's a really unique opportunity, has a lot of long-standing benefits. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me personally. I'll put my email in the chat. And looking
Be careful what you're asking for.
I didn't say I would reply quickly. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing what kind of research is done this coming year. Thanks.
Right. Joanna.
I think those are exactly the right words we want to leave you with. Thanks so much for participating and having your interest in the scholarship, and please do apply. We're really interested in hearing your ideas, and we're looking forward to moving forward with a strong group of scholars for this coming year.
Okay, so Owen.
Yes, I think it's a great opportunity to be part of this scholarship. I think it exposes you to really great network, and being at TT is probably one of the best things, talking to people from all over the globe. And also, if you're in your whichever academic journey, I think it's already an examination period for whatever thing your whatever proposal you have. Thank you.
Wonderful. Really big thanks also to you, Owen, to Tom, to Joanna, to Robert, also to take your time also today, and also for coming up also with a brilliant idea. really the scholarship lives as a cause of the great candidates also feel it's worthwhile doing. So that's inspirational. Thank you also for that. Thanks also to the Volvo Research Educational Foundation also providing also us the resources also to run that, but also for also helping also with the Karen also with the communication and the webinars today. And with that, I wish everyone also a wonderful day, and thanks again also for joining, and hopefully also we see your application soon. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.